It's awesome to have Dr. Bart Jaworski with us today, who's a senior product manager at Microsoft and in particular responsible for Skype. So, we've been chatting a lot about basically, the fierce competition on the market and different products emerging and, like overtaking each other in terms of the market leading position. So it's super interesting to hear your take on, trying to regain the market leader's position in a sense, I guess. Cool. Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself first? Like, how long have you been with Microsoft and Skype in particular?
So, hi, I'm Dr. Bart. You probably see my cat soon. Yeah, it's just here. And yeah, I've just had my 1-year anniversary in Microsoft a few days ago on the 15th of April. So it's been a blast. It's like where somehow my career has gone from a self-proclaimed product manager in a small startup to where I am now. And I'm actually now writing a series of posts like in a very detailed way, recollecting the whole journey. And it's like the stories I'm recalling are so fun. I recall I went, okay, let's not deviate to the funny stories of my recruitment processes. And well, ask me what you wish. I'm here to answer.
Yeah, sure. So you've been with Skype specifically for about a year now, right? As you said, you just had your anniversary. So yeah, you were recruited especially on this mission to kind of, make Skype a bit more competitive again, right? So I remember years ago, there was like over 10 years ago when I was going to my year abroad at university in Germany. And obviously, like the students used to keep in touch with their friends and parents, and at that point Skype was a verb, right? Now I can't like go out now, I can't talk now, I need to Skype my parents, right? So it was just the synonym, the word for online calling, online conversations. And then it kind of
zoomed away,
zoomed away, right? We had this conversation with a friend of mine, like, you don't say I will Skype someone anymore. You say like, I will Zoom someone, right? So how did that happen?
Or FaceTime someone, unfortunately.
Or FaceTime, yeah. If you're...
This is hilariously underlined by a channel called College Humor, where there is a interview with a obviously fake CEO of Skype, where he...
I know this one.
Yeah, go watch it. It was hilarious before I joined Skype, and still hilarious to this day. So
yeah.
So the guys there really nailed it in terms of how we feel from time to time. But it's all about being in the right place in the right time, or simply being the first one. And I'm honestly not able to tell you what happened that Zoom got the first place in terms of organizing. Yeah. And it's not because like, oh, how are they better with Skype? No, there are tons of similar products that were on the market, like Blue Jeans, WebEx, there's GoToMeeting. Everything are basically the same blueprint as Zoom, but I guess the thing that's okay with Zoom is the fact that it's free. Free to a point, because you are cut off after what, 1 hour, as I recall?
40 minutes or something.
Yeah, maybe it's, I think the products that I listed are, you needed to pay a subscription fee. So you always had this freedom that you could use Zoom whenever, just do your 1 hour meeting. And if you need, just buy the license. So maybe this was the fire factor, which was still available in Skype. So again, not sure what happened here. Skype had its turmoils over the years. I recall back when I was that self-proclaimed product manager, it was the times where Microsoft actually purchased Skype. And I recall the dreaded feeling of another Skype update. And we were really, it wasn't even jokes. I recall feeling like it's getting worse and worse with every release. And that was what, well, many years ago. So mistakes were made, and for the last 12 months, at least I'm trying to, I don't want to say undo some of the mistakes, because those are too, it's hard to call them mistakes. It's Skype how it is. It's about making the product great for what people expect from it in 2022.
Today.
And well, learning from what's happening with Zoom, what's happening with all the similar products, and being better, being exceeding expectations visually, performance-wise. Visually, I think we are there. Performance, it's still an 80-year-old internet predecessor that's still strong and running, but there's a lot of work to be done to match all the modern popping software. So we are on the case here. And it's not only about here and now, but what we do, what I'm also pushing in my teams, is to figure out what comes next. How do we get people to Skype as a verb? But I don't think that just doing video calls is enough. There are visions, ideas of the future of how video calling will look like. Some of people will tell you it's about looking into the metaverse, as it's called, into being connected deeply with your eyes actually shut down in front of you.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that maybe metaverse will have its dedicated audience. There will be market for it, and there will be meetings that will benefit from the online experience. But my product gut feeling tells me, and funny, it's getting recorded, because if I'm wrong, then I'll be roasted in a few years hard. But I think that what pandemic showed us is that there are people who love to stay at home, who love the detachment and will appreciate the metaverse. And there are people who are eager to come back to the office, to feel the pheromones, smells, touch, aura, whatever it is that makes us more than just our images, and get that energy from cooperation, from another human being, from being in the same room. And myself being an introvert, I am sort of on that side of staying at home, not being eager to have that physical close contact. But at the same time, I can't not appreciate the fact that anything collaborative is more efficient, more fun, more productive when everyone is in the same room, and you can just pat yourself on the shoulder, high five, or get that viral laugh of something fun, something that happened. And
yeah,
not metaverse, not Zoom, not Skype has managed to replicate that, to have that real life room experience. It's still comic book to a book, comic book to a movie, which you can convey the same story, you can convey something more, something less, but it's a completely different medium with its downsides and benefits. And perhaps we'll never be able to create a video meta calling application that will match the real life room experience. But maybe we'll do something that will be better, alternative, that people will want to have some meetings on your in your helmet, and some will be that pat on the shoulder, laughing off your stupid joke kind of way.
Yeah, we're running like out. That was my last question actually for you today. So I feel like you've answered half of my questions before I even managed to ask them. Thank you. Thank you for making my job easier. But fortunately, there are still a few left for me. So yeah, you touched upon like the pricing factor, you know, and the fact that the freemium model made Zoom very popular. They kind of emerged at the right place at the right time with this. And it makes me think about sort of accessibility, but also UX, that, you know, having this ease of use. If it's free, you can just like sign up and invite people and use it, even if it's like for a limited period of time, because obviously they have to put in some bumpers to actually upgrade anyone. But yeah, maybe that was also a bit of the factor, just kind of getting lucky with this one thing. And it makes me think about the UX factor in general. Would you say it's getting a lot more important these days than a few years ago to have like really simple, intuitive UX to, you know, be competitive?
It's hard to say. It's all about your customers, and some people will appreciate the UX. Some people will appreciate the speed, but funny enough, the numbers show that if product is performing good, then it's the core. Everything on top of it will be just basically bells and whistles. As I recall, if you have a mobile app, every second longer it takes to load you to the primary screen, the more people you will be missing by, I think, a factor of 15% by every second. This is like the rough number I have. There is a clear numeric correlation between the completion of any online form and the number of fields it has. So it's a compromise game. You can have a great product, very quick, very efficient, that will have barely any UX. And this is a video calling app called Jitsi, by the way, which is very crude, very quick, very efficient, does everything you need to do. But I call it like Skype without baggage and without soul when I look at it, because it's working absolutely great, and there's nothing to say wrong about it. But at the same time, it doesn't catch your imagination. It doesn't it doesn't make you feel like you are having any special moment. There are barely any emojis to use. There are things that will elevate the product with great features and great UX, but only if the core is strong. I can see Jitsi being the #1 calling app if they manage to get their marketing and their offer much better. But at the same time, they are also slightly late to the game. So, and the only reason I know Jitsi is because someone accidentally showed it to me. And yeah, it's a really complicated thing to find that one market fit and then the retention, because everything can go wrong and get the product down. And it's only with the right balance can you achieve stability and then growth. And this growth, even as Skype history shows, is a fragile beast, and it's really easy to upset users. And what I teach my students is that the IT product development is quite forgiving and you can take risks, but it's only forgiving if you can say sorry and go back. If you go towards a bad path and you insist that this is bad, this is the right thing to do, it won't work. The users will vote with their presence, with their wallets, and fake it until you make it will simply fail.
Yeah. So it's very difficult, as you said, to undo. I mean, if you can undo it, if you can like roll it back, then maybe not. But if you make the decision that doesn't land well with your users and you sort of persist in it, right, then it can be disastrous for your market position, I guess. So would you say, like as a product manager, how do you recognize these early signs of, maybe making some small wrong decisions, because, obviously if it's a big update and your users hate it, they will tell you first, they will tell everyone, the whole world first, social media, everywhere, so you will know. But if it's like this kind of, creeping normality, right, that sometimes you just make a bunch of small decisions that the users don't necessarily see immediately, but it kind of builds up all together. So what are the early signs that a product manager can catch to let them know that they are like going in the wrong direction?
I would say that monitoring the NPS, Net Promoter Score, is something that really helps you to get a feeling of the overall product, because it's a trend thing. So if you think that you are doing great, you are releasing great improvements, all is great, there isn't too much good feedback, but the NPS is going down, then you know that something is off. And I would say that it's really, like you say, a crippling decrease in quality. It will be hard to tie into any particular update or change. So, which is also a great problem in reverse, because there are quality of life changes in products or small improvements that will do absolutely nothing to boost any metric directly. It's very hard to prove that it's worth doing. The impact hypothesis is like, people will have a slightly more good time, but only if you accumulate enough of them will you be able to create a better product. The way I'm trying to do this is like have this team capacity of 10, 15, 20% at most, where I'm doing the changes which are still monitored for impact in terms of it's positive or negative. But the overall idea is to do small changes where we know that the experience is suboptimal and we can do a small tweaks to improve it and see the overall growth in NPS in time without necessarily pointing fingers to that particular change that we've made. And it's really, I mean, in environment like Skype, I'm very appreciative that this is even allowed, but I can imagine a very strict company that everything is 100% data driven. There is no, there's barely any common sense and everything is proceduralized. And you would never be able to do small quality of life changes just because there will be no numbers to prove that this is a right call to make. But a great product is more than the sum of its parts. And NPS is where you catch it, and which will tell you overall that, or if you're going good in the right direction, or similarly for mobile apps, the last 28 days of ratings will also help you to catch what's going on, especially that those ratings are very often connected to comments. So I would say that for me, keeping up with the user sentiments on my product was much easier when I was just a mobile product manager. And it was like you could do amazing stuff because you could see a user reporting a bug, and you could actually report back to him, yes, we know this bug, we think it's quite significant, yes, and we'll fix it with the next version, and then reply to this user again publicly that it's fixed. It's not exactly by the book. It can be misleading if you are such customer feedback driven without making sure that you take analytics into consideration, that you don't have the wider scope. But it's like those small things that you can do outside being like 85, 90% strictly product manager by the book, by the numbers, data-driven, hypothesis, blah, 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 and then do a little bit more. Like imagine a cake done by a perfect recipe, and then putting the name of the person that cake is made to in a nice font and his favorite Pokemon on top. This cake will be much better with it for this person, but no recipe, no book will tell you to do it. It's like this extra step that you need to figure out in order to do something more. But again, it's also a risk. Maybe this person actually didn't like this Pokemon, or I made a typo in this person's name. It's all about managing the risk and the possible payoff.
That's very hard, and I constantly feel the same way in marketing, right? Like, will this decision actually bring about good outcomes, or will we just increase CAC, right? So yeah, it's very challenging. And like, what do you say, when do you recognize is the time to actually start working on saving your product? Some people say that products have these natural life cycles, right? Where the adoption initially increases, then it kind of plateaus.
Yeah, there's like,
and then there's a product adoption curve, right? Yeah. So does it always have to happen? Like, I mean, okay, in a finite market, perhaps, and if the product doesn't innovate, then yeah.
But no, I'm really not a big fan of that product lifecycle chart, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in my opinion. It tells you that if you're starting to fall behind, that you're falling behind completely, and you might as well start packing your bags and invest into the ways the product can be cheaper, so you can still have some buck while it's declining. But we saw so many products that came back from decline, particularly in the gaming market, the hit game Among Us during the pandemic. The guys there were ready to basically put the game in the maintenance mode and not care anymore. But then Spark, someone streamed the game, had a lot of fun, and a game that had thousands of concurrent players went into hundreds of millions concurrent players.
Wow.
And the small development team of 3 people, as I recall, 4, suddenly became an online sensation. Of course, it's not hundreds of millions right now, and the peak is again behind them, but it's still in a way that the guys are adding new features. They are just about to release a VR version of Among Us, which can spark new experiences, new ways of playing the game. But it can also be whatever, boring, the same thing, just in the first person. I don't know. I'll try it when it's released. But also, I like to bring up a story of how Pokemon Go started, where they had expectations of certain number of players, but somehow game was built in a way that it became so viral that the initial player estimates went through the roof. I'm not sure if it was like 20, 30 times more people than they estimated, which resulted in poor experience because the servers were not ready for it. They started to lose that access, and rather than focus on developing the game, they had to focus on maintaining it at all, which also impacted the roadmap, because rather than working on new features to get people who are already hooked still in the game, they had to keep up with the crowd coming in. And the crowd coming in, when the thing stabilized, got bored because the new features weren't coming, because all of the effort was put into maintaining the game. So it naturally, so you saw the rise and the decline, and then, people are bored with the game, whatever. No, it just went to the natural state where it stabilizes to the point where a dedicated fan base emerged, where the hype and the sensation went away. And I'm not sure if it's growing ever since, but it's still being developed. It still has a strong user base. And I believe that it's another story on that you don't really have to trust in the product life cycle, and you have to do your best and be creative, strategic, have a vision to get the product successful at any point of time. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be working at Skype, and we will be talking about Teams if at anything, if declination was any sign of the fact that you need to pack your bags. But as for signs that things are going wrong, again, NPS, ratings, and just users will tell you that's something wrong. Sometimes they will tell you, sometimes it might not even be that the product is bad or something, or you as a PM or the team did something wrong. Sometimes it's all about changing market and not reacting quick enough. Look at Clubhouse, which was again a sensation. Everyone was talking about Clubhouse. Everyone wanted to imitate Clubhouse and copy its features. Where's Clubhouse now? Yeah,
exactly.
they weren't able to keep up with their own product, the way I understand it, that they weren't able to convert the momentary success into the long-term sustainability. So you can a bit of pattern emerges here, right? With luck, with both with Clubhouse and with Among Us, that the twists in the product history were basically driven outside the factors within the product and the product team. So try your best, look what's out there, be brave, take risks, and make sure that you have strong foundations, a good product backend at its core, and build on top of it while understanding the market, understanding your users, and hearing what they need and what's happening around you.
It all starts there, right? Doesn't it? With a strong product and ultimately having this sustainable, basically growth strategy and a strong base. But, you know, like I recently read a really interesting blog about sunsetting products, and then I wrote a newsletter about it. And, you know, it made me wonder, like, why some companies, when they see this early signs of decline, decide to just, you know, pack it up and move on. I was personally really shocked. Like, it was just over a year ago. I've been using Endomondo forever, right? Like 10 years, maybe, something like that. And then suddenly I'm getting this notification that they will be closing shop. And they only gave like 3 months notice, right? That you need to download all your data and move to another app, right? And I was quite disappointed because I was using it for so long. I was used to it, and then I had to move. And it just made me wonder, you know, they had like millions and millions of users. They got acquired, and they had an equity buyout. And then what? Just like, okay, we've made it. Let's just pack it up. Like, why do some companies decide to do it while others decide to, you know, pivot? And what would you say?
Maybe it's the faking till you making it not always working. I'm not sure. What was even the monetization model for Endomondo? Did they
had a premium, they had like premium features, right? And then I don't know why, but yeah.
Because I don't know. I also, when I was a runner, I was a runner until I ran a half marathon, and then I never ran again because I was sick and tired of it, which is hilarious when I think about it. I recall, I don't even recall a way to spend money in there. So, well, back then I wasn't that product oriented, so I wouldn't think about it. But I would always imagine that that would be some, I don't know, shop with supplements, some contextual retail offers, or maybe like Facebook does, it's all about selling your data to whatever it means. I don't know how can someone monetize the fact that I was running 3 times a week until I didn't. But again, maybe it was just a product of its time, and the time has passed, and not all things are made to last. I would say that if you think about it, any smartwatch or even phone directly, like the health apps built into any Samsung, basically do the same thing as Endomondo does now.
That's true. Yeah. Although they were acquired by Under Armour, which is basically a sports apparel company, right? So I guess I don't remember exactly, but I guess they were pushing some ads to, the free users as well. But yeah, I mean, I was just surprised by the decision. So, well, Skype didn't decide to go that way, right? And it's like, oh yeah, let's just back it up and focus on, Windows. So it's after recognizing like, hey, let's, take part in this race again, like, how are you, what are you planning to, if you can, of course, talk about it, what you're planning to do to, regain this verb for Skype? Is it the metaverse bit or?
I wish I could tell you, but the corporate would have killed me. So
Yeah, sure.
I'm having my wife and cat to live for. So no, I'm joking. There is no corporate Microsoft or Skype assassin that I know of.
Listening, there's one in the F&Bs, right?
Yeah, but no, well, for one thing, I don't want to spoil any surprises or secrets, and frankly, that's something that you'll have to find out when it comes out. We are at the beginning of the new financial year, so a lot of great ideas and strategies are forming on how to capitalize the great year we had so far. And a lot of things change, and I really encourage you to try to have a group call or one-on-one call on Skype, see how it looks like, see the new call stage in the light theme with the audio participant backgrounds, where we choose a very nice arts backgrounds to create a very pleasing visual experience. And that's basically where, at least I think I can say, I will be going to identify what makes a great video call and just pursue this angle and make sure it always works, because like anything made by man, it's faulty. Zoom is faulty, Windows is faulty, Linux is faulty, but the less faulty it is, the more people will trust to use it long term. So that's at least the angle I'll be taking. And well, I'm really looking forward to that adventure. The first year at Skype taught me a lot, and it really correlated with a amazing period in my life where I also basically founded my own business of teaching young product managers to excel in their careers. And I recall when I started 2 years ago, I thought I have a good idea on how to approach the problem, unlike any other Udemy course. I thought I have an idea on how to find my students, on how to convince them to give me a try, and how to develop my course, my activities. But I never thought it would work. It's funny to say, but it's often when you have a strategy vision, when those are like those big names, you have those great documents, and you convince everyone that it will be great. And then it's hardship, it's adjusting the plans, it's trying to find your market fit, trying to adjust the product to please your users. And I thought it will be a more bumpy way, that it will cost me much more effort and time. Not to say it didn't cost me a lot of effort to get where I am, but I'm really happy to be a product manager that actually has a product that was conceived in his head and that I'm growing day to day. And it makes me a better Skype product manager. And being a Skype product manager makes me a better teacher. There was this great conversation on Twitter. Someone just tweeted literally, how come all people that teach you product management are not product managers themselves anymore for years? What do they know by now? Like, hello, I'm still here. I'm trying my best.
Yeah, that's such a good point, right? That I thought about it recently as well, that, if I were, for instance, to teach, product, sorry, not product, but like content operations, I would still need to be in content operations for it to be relevant, right? to stay relevant. But you mentioned something super interesting that kind of we could slap on top of this video as the motto for all product people. Like, you are trying to figure out what it means to have a good video call. And this just so resonates, right? Like, just, I think that's kind of quintessential for a product manager's job, to understand what it means for their end users to have like a good experience with the product, and what it means for them to get a good outcome from the product, right?
I can give you maybe a small hint of what I can't tell you, and what is something that really resonates me, that we checked the usage of cameras, and we checked how much the users use video share. And I can say that the numbers of both in relation to each other were not what we were expected. And that did make me think a lot. I don't want to say which one was most used. I don't want to say what were the actual numbers, but it's all the process of learning, of observing your own product and knowing that you know nothing, basically, until you measure it, until you know that those measurements are correct, verified, and are not some fluke in data. And only based on that do the right decision to find the right calls that will elevate your product higher.
Yeah, that's really inspiring, right? It's never done. A product is never done, and you constantly need to monitor what your users are doing. What do they want right now? And then maybe
they know what they want.
Yeah, do they know what they want? They probably don't, but watch them, don't talk to them, because they will tell you something completely different than they are really doing.
Yeah, my faster horse is on the backyard is the great example of that.
Right, yeah, exactly. So yeah, super cool insights. We'll be watching Skype closely to see what happens right in there, and I'm mindful of our time, so we need to wrap it up. It went really fast, but thank you so much for enlightening us on, you know, when we should look for these signs of decline, and maybe not too much and not be too like obsessed with it, because it's sometimes just natural, right? Unlike what a lot of people preach, right, that you should always be on the rise, especially if you see exponential growth. You'll always be growing. So thank you so much, Bart. And where can we find you? Where can people contact you to, you know, hit you up?
I think the LinkedIn is the best way, as Dr. Bart Jaworski. Fortunately, with the PhD, I'm the only one. So there are many Barts Jaworski, there are many Bartosz Jaworskis, but there's only one doctor. Thank you.
That's helpful.
Thank you.
You have to warn the other ones not to do PhDs now.
Yeah, and that's the obviously you can find me also on Udemy, Skillshare. There's a YouTube channel, Product Digest, where I do my best to put at least a single video a week on how to become a better product manager. I have some presence of Medium. All over the place, really. Just,
Great.
If this keeps on, you will see me in your refrigerator with my new Dr. Bart Jaworski product yogurt.
That's the secret new project you're working on.
Diversification.
Exactly. Yeah. That reminds me of, I'm going off the tangent of a recent Jason Lemkin post when he said exactly about that in order to keep growing, you need to diversify. So yeah, if not digital products, then maybe some yogurt. We'll post some links on YouTube under this interview so people can find you easier. And yeah, great chat as usual. Looking forward to having another one, and have a good rest of your day.
You too, and it was an absolute blast and a pleasure. See you soon.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.